good morning to you too, little bug. Good morning. Good morning. What are you doing? You just hanging out with mom? Yeah. You just smile like, oh my goodness. You are the cutest thing. Are you gonna smile for mommy? Are you gonna smile? Yeah. Oh my god, my heart. Can I get that smile that you always show me? Can you show everyone your smile, please? There it is. Look at that face. What? 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 You're so pretty. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So tonight's video is going to be Aurora's birth story. So many people have been asking for this video for the past few weeks, and I'm just now getting the chance to just calm down, relax, and actually sit down and film it. So that's what we're doing tonight. First and foremost, I wanted to thank each and every single one of you who reached out to me on Twitter, on Facebook, even some of you guys found me on YouTube in my community tab and everything. I had so many people reaching out to me and wishing me all the luck with the baby and everything, and I had so many messages from people giving me like amazing advice for first-time moms and things like that. For all of you guys, thank you guys so much for all the advice and all the tips and everything, even the personalized letters I've gotten emails. And then moreover, I want to thank every single person who sent a gift for her baby shower a couple of months back. I'm so grateful and appreciative of every single thing that was sent. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. I am just like, I'm forever grateful and appreciative of that, so thank you. Alright, so to keep this video relatively short, I'm not going to go into my past, my history, and things like that with PCOS. I will leave all those videos in which I discuss those topics down below. But the TLDR of that whole situation is, yes, I have PCOS. I was diagnosed last year, and it was heartbreaking because the number one thing I wanted to be in life, more than anything in the world, more than any job or like whatever, I wanted to be a mother. That's the only thing that I knew in my entire being, in my entire body and mind. I knew I wanted to be a mother. And so when I was 3 months late last summer, I kind of got excited thinking that I was pregnant. My husband at the time and I had been trying and it felt like nothing was happening, and so that sucked. And obviously I went to the doctors, got checked out. I had a very, very large cyst on my left ovary, and that's when I was diagnosed with PCOS. After a few months of having regular periods on time each and every month for the same amount of days, it was incredible. My doctor had me come back in for another checkup, and this past winter, I want to say it was in January, like mid-January, I had gotten my checkup and the cyst was gone. My doctor decided that since I was having regular cycles again and the cyst was gone, that he would put me on a medication to help me get pregnant, and that medication was metformin. But the weird thing is, I don't think I needed that medication because I want to say like 2 weeks after that, I got my first positive pregnancy test. Fast forward a few months, her original due date was on Halloween actually, which is hilarious because my mom's original due date for me was the same day. It was Halloween, and I actually ended up being born later on November 6th. I was kind of like wondering if I was gonna have her on my birthday, or at least around my birthday, but she ended up coming on her third and final due date prediction, which was October 19th, which never happens, but for her it did. The week of her birth, my father and my brother were supposed to drive up from South Florida, because I'm a South Floridian native, born and raised in Boynton Beach, love it, I miss it. My father and my brother were supposed to drive up on that Wednesday, which would have been the 17th, to get up here on the 18th, 19th, because we were assuming that since I was a first-time mom and everyone was saying, you know, usually first-time moms, their pregnancies kind of go over a couple of days. So we kind of assumed that was what was gonna happen, but obviously it did not happen that way. My dad FaceTime called me actually, and he's like, "Did you order KFC?" And I was like, no, there's no KFC around me, first of all, and second of all, I don't like KFC. When I was pregnant, I couldn't look or smell Popeyes or KFC or Lay's sour cream and onion potato chips, which is my favorite out of all of them. But for some reason, when I was pregnant, I couldn't stand them. And my dad's like, well, there's a guy out front of your door who has a bag of KFC. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And I hadn't heard them pull up because I had my headphones in. So when I went out to the door and I saw my brother in the window and he was like waving with the bag of KFC, I was like, oh my God. So fast forward to the 18th. So that morning I woke up and I felt good. I felt really like, I don't know, like I slept well that night for the first time in a very long time, and I felt so good that morning. Even though I felt really good emotionally and like physically I felt awake and I felt refreshed, I still had this thought in my head and I had this feeling in my body and my guts. I was like, something's gonna happen tonight. Today's the day. Something's gonna happen today. And so I told myself, we're gonna stay local because I have the feeling something's gonna happen and I wanna be close to home for obvious reasons. In any case, that day I ended up taking my dad and my brother to my favorite restaurant in Middlebury, Vermont. It is so good. It's called Rosie's, I think it is. Rosie's. It is so good, so inexpensive, and the food and the amount of food you get for what you pay for it is incredible. It's like, oh, mind-blowing. So if you're ever in Middlebury or you live close to the area, check out Rosie's. They are incredible. I love the food. It's so good, and you will too. So I took them to the restaurant, and the entire time we're sitting there, I'm trying to eat my cheeseburger, and I'm just like, I have this overwhelming feeling like something's gonna happen, and I couldn't shake it. And so I told them, okay, well, is there anywhere else you guys want to go? Because I kind of want to get home because I don't really feel too good. My dad's like, okay, let's just go home. Don't worry about going anywhere else. So we go home and we get home around like 4 o'clock. And at that point, my mom and my little brother were in town and they wanted to see my brother and my dad for obvious reasons. And so they came over for about an hour or so to visit. And then in the middle of them visiting, I got worse. Like I felt worse. I was hungry, but I wasn't hungry. I was irritated. I just didn't feel well. My back was on fire. My legs were on fire. I had a blistering headache. It was terrible. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat this quickly, this dinner, and I'm gonna go just lay down for a couple hours. So around 6 o'clock, I went to take a nap. Now at this point, I am very, very large. Like my stomach is huge. And so getting out of bed is a task in and of itself. Here she comes. At 6 p.m. I took a nap and I napped for about 2 hours. So 8 p.m. rolls around. I roll over, check my phone. I have a bunch of messages on Twitter and everything. And I'm checking them and I roll over. I swing my leg over to get off the bed because at this point getting out of bed is a task. I swing my leg over and as I swing my leg, a waterfall of water just flies out of me. And I'm like, okay. This is it.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
My dad is in the living room, my brother, and they're snacking and watching a movie together. And my dad hears me say, okay, wow. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, my water just broke. And in a matter of seconds, they're both out of their chairs, running around the house, grabbing my hospital bag, the baby bag, my purse. I hop into the shower to clean up, and as I'm in the shower, I have an anxiety attack. And it's the worst one I think I've ever had in my life because at that point I was like, holy shit, this is it. Like I can't keep her in there. I can't stop this. This is it. And it was an overwhelming feeling of like impending doom, as negative as it sounds. But as a first-time mom, I'm terrified. Like absolutely terrified. I've never experienced birth, never experienced having a little human to take care of. This was super like major for me. And so I'm in the shower crying, washing my body off, trying to cool down. I tried putting music on, tried doing everything I could to just relax, taking deep breaths. Nothing is working. I get out of the shower. I remember I have a bag of Hershey's Kisses in my drawer next to my bed. I put one on my tongue, take 10 deep breaths, and that calms me down instantly. So we jump into the car and it takes about 45 minutes to get up north to where the hospital was. We made it there in record timing. I was rolled up to my room and at first they weren't gonna admit me because the lady tried telling me that the test they had given me to prove that I had my water broken didn't come up as my water had broken, and I was like, I know the difference between peeing and my water breaking. That was my water breaking. Like that was intense. So she goes out of the room and gets the opinion of a few other nurses and they confirm that my water did break, and so they admit me and now I'm in the hospital. I didn't have really any contractions until the next day. I did have some mild ones, but they really weren't that bad. And the contractions that I felt that day, I would have begged for the next day because holy shit, It was a nightmare. So that night I actually slept okay for being in a hospital bed, because hospital beds are so uncomfortable. I started having some more intense contractions during the night, but they weren't anything that I couldn't handle. So I just breathed through them and I was able to make it through them with no issue. The next day comes, her birthday, and that morning is when I started to get the really bad ones. And so I finally asked for an epidural, because I felt what it felt like to have the really, really bad contractions. Actually, one of the first contractions I had that morning was one of the really intense ones. And so we thought she was coming right away. They do an ultrasound to see where she is and how low she is. They check me to see if I'm dilated at all. At that point, I was 4 centimeters dilated. So obviously she wasn't coming, but I was begging them for an epidural at 9 o'clock that morning. They gave me one. But the issue that arose and lasted the entire time was the fact that the epidural didn't work in my entire body. I noticed after, I want to say, maybe like the second hour after my epidural was put into my body, that my left leg wasn't numb whatsoever. I could move it with no issue. My entire right side of my body, like below my belly button obviously, was perfectly numb, and I still felt all the contractions, like all of them. And so I was terrified, because the last thing I want to do is have to go all day feeling these contractions, because I know my pain limit, my tolerance level. There's no way I could have handled that all night, but I kind of had to. I had no choice at this point, because by the time she had come into the world, I had 3 epidurals in my body, and all 3 of them didn't take. So I had to breathe through every single intense contraction. They had no other way of sedating me to a point where I didn't feel the contractions. It was awful, but I made it through. It was the most intense pain I've ever felt in my life. There's nothing really to compare it to. It was awful, but so worth it, obviously. About 6 o'clock that night, I start pushing, because I'm fully dilated at this point, and my doctor said, okay, we're gonna try 30 more minutes of pushing, and if she's not making any progress, we're gonna have to do something else, because there was a cord around her neck, and each time I had a contraction, her heart rate would kind of drop, so it was kind of a scary situation. And so at that point, my original birth plan, like most do, goes out the window immediately. So by 6:30, my doctor looks at me and he's like, I need you to push like you've never pushed before, but we need to now think about putting either forceps in and intercepting her that way, or a vacuum. The vacuum seemed a little bit too intense for me, so I said just use the forceps and get her out, please, because I was terrified. I was in pain, severe pain, because of the contractions. I couldn't handle it anymore. I felt like I was at my wit's end at this point. I didn't want to push anymore. It was so painful for me. So doc says, okay, forceps it is. He orders a forceps. They put the forceps in, grab onto her little head, and as I'm pushing, he's pulling, and by 6:51 p.m. on October 19th, 2018, she was born. The second they laid Aurora on my chest, it was surreal, because I'm gonna get emotional. I had wanted that moment. I wanted this for so long, and it wasn't happening. And then when they put her on my chest and I heard that first cry, I lost it. There was no composing me whatsoever. I was speechless, like I am right now. Like, there's no way to really describe what you go through as a mother in that moment when your child is first born and they're put into your arms for the very first time. It is the single most amazing thing in the world to have your child put into your arms for the first time. I was so obsessed and so in shock still that I didn't even realize I had one of the worst tears I think they had seen in a while. I think my doctor told me it was a stage 3 tear or something like that. It was something with 3s in it. It was a bad tear. So yeah, that was Aurora's birth story. It was a very traumatizing event towards the end there, but the outcome was obviously so worth it. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Bye.